Wesatihala ikata Rafnar. With you all health, I am Rafnar, or Raven, whichever thing. So, I think I should start a series on my YouTube channel, maybe even a full podcast, going into the topic of Norse Pagan politics. I know, a lot of people will say, don't mix religion and politics, or spirituality and politics. But the thing is that you don't really have a choice. It's inevitable. And the reason for that is because if you have religious or spiritual beliefs, they do by nature ultimately inform your moral and your ethical beliefs, which in turn will inform your voting and your political beliefs. Simply put, if you have religious or spiritual beliefs, you're not going to support a law or a politician that clearly goes against them. It is inevitable that religious beliefs and politics get mixed when you have people who have religious beliefs. Give me a moment. So, in light of the situation involving Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump, one might ask, which one of the two would be more in alignment with Norse pagan values? And there are different ways you can look at it. I'm not going to provide all of those ways. I think the best way to get the different ways of looking at it is really to just go out there on your own and talk to individual Norse pagans. Because our religion is free thinking. And we are encouraged to interpret our beliefs for ourselves. Really, the most honorable thing I can do here is give you my interpretation based upon my own research. What I think, based upon my own research, would be more in alignment with traditional Norse pagan values. And my conclusion is that to vote for Donald Trump would actually conflict with Norse pagan beliefs. Here are a few reasons why. First and foremost, Donald Trump is a criminal. Flat out. What was it? 34 felony charges were given to him. 34 felony charges. On top of that, he is a rapist. He sexually abused a woman. That goes against Norse pagan spiritual beliefs. Women are sacred. In our spiritual beliefs, women are sacred. And it is absolutely abhorrent and utterly dishonorable for a man to sexually assault a woman. Now, I know that people are going to pipe up and respond to this by saying, but, during the Viking Age, Vikings would raid and pillage and rape. Yeah, they did, at least according to some accounts anyways. But the actions of the people who claim a religion or who come from a religion do not necessarily reflect the actual beliefs of that religion. For example, does every Christ worshiper believe that the Crusades should have happened? No. Does every Christ worshiper believe that that the people of Gaza and Palestine should be invaded by Israel? No. There are some Christians, sadly a lot, who support the invasion of Palestine and the invasion of Gaza because they have Zionist beliefs. There are Christian Zionists who believe that by Israel invading Palestine and Gaza, they will accelerate the second coming of Jesus Christ. But the actions of those particular Christians do not reflect the beliefs necessarily of actual Christianity. Similarly, there are Jews that believe that Palestine and Gaza should be invaded. I mean, that's why they're doing it. However, there are also multiple rabbis who have spoken up and said that those actions, that the violence that Israel has enacted upon the people of Palestine and Gaza is shameful and abhorrent in accordance to the actual teachings of Judaism. So, my point here is that the actions of the people or of groups of people who belong to a certain religion do not define or necessarily reflect the actual beliefs of the religion that they claim they come from. The fact that during the Viking Age, Norsemen may have raped women does not define any part of Norse paganism. It doesn't change the fact that the actual beliefs of Norse paganism are against that. Simply put, those particular Norsemen that committed those actions weren't exactly good Norse pagans. Just like, for instance, a Christ worshiper who goes and murders people in the name of Jesus wouldn't necessarily be considered a good Christian. You know? So, when you actually look at the actual texts that express Norse pagan beliefs, and when you also look at documents that show the overall mentalities and principles and values of Norse people, and not just Norse people, but Germanic people in general, you find much more evidence that something like rape or sexual assault would be considered abhorrent and shameful. It goes against what is more evident to have been Norse pagan beliefs historically. But it's not just about what Norse pagan beliefs have been historically, because like any other ancient religion, it evolves over time. Today's Norse paganism isn't necessarily the same as it was during the Viking Age. So, really, I think it's more important that we look at what Norse pagan beliefs are now. And currently, in this modern day and age, Norse pagan beliefs are strongly and fiercely against the abuse of women. I have known Norse pagans to be very, very much into aggressively teaching permanent lessons to those who abuse women. It's against our beliefs. And so if you're a Norse pagan, especially a modern Norse pagan, you cannot, in your right mind, support Donald Trump because he's a rapist. And that goes against our religious and spiritual beliefs. He's a rapist. There are so many ways in which Donald Trump has acted dishonorably. Threatening to ban people or deport people from the country on a basis of their religion, like he did with, for instance, Muslims, also goes against modern pagan beliefs, modern Norse pagan beliefs. There is no basis within Norse pagan beliefs for a prejudice against a religious group. On top of that, the fact that he wants to become a dictator, which is pretty evident to me, also goes against Norse pagan values. We don't believe in dictatorships. In our traditional culture, we had chiefs and we had kings. We did not have dictators. We very fiercely value our freedom and our rights. So our freedoms and our rights are enshrined within our religious beliefs. So there's no way that a Norse pagan who's following traditional Norse pagan values could support someone who flat out wants to become a dictator, even if it's only for a day. During an interview, somebody asked Donald Trump if he's going to become a dictator, and he said, only on day one, only on the first day. So, in other words, only on his first day in office, he'll become a dictator. Even if it's only for one day, that goes against Norse pagan values. I would rather fight and die rather than spend a single day under a dictatorship. That is how sacred my freedoms are to me, and that is how sacred the freedoms of my loved ones are to me. The Supreme Court recently, I believe in July, I'll have to double check, made several rulings on the immunities of the president. And what it basically amounts to, and this is according to a YouTube account called Legal Eagle, which is run and operated by an actual legal expert. What it basically amounts to is that the president has complete immunity. As in, the president could commit any crime that they want now, and they are completely immune to criminal prosecution. completely immune to criminal prosecution. It is to the point where the president could literally kill his political opponents, where he could, as Legal Eagle puts it, SEAL Team 6 his legal opponents, and he'd be immune to any prosecution. He could get away with it. That goes against Norse pagan values. Our religious and spiritual beliefs enshrine personal accountability for your actions, regardless of who you are. It doesn't matter who you are. Anything that you do, right or wrong, you have to be responsible for. Period. To support a president that has been given complete immunity like that utterly defies the very fibers of Norse pagan values. Defies. That goes against our beliefs. To have somebody in office who has been given basically free rein to do whatever they want. As a Norse pagan, based upon my understanding of my traditional beliefs, I cannot support a president like that because it goes against my spiritual beliefs. That's not all. That is not all. So Donald Trump has been espousing this new operation. He calls it Operation Aurora. Operation Aurora is basically going to be a mass deportation. Not just deportation, but detention without any fair trial for immigrants into this country. And I find it alarming that he was referencing an act that was enacted in, what was it, 1798. It's called the Alien Enemies Act. I find it alarming that while he's talking about Operation Aurora, he references this particular act. Because this particular act basically makes it so that the president can gain access to war powers without Congress having declared a war. You see, the president does have certain war powers that are given to him during times of war, but the president cannot declare war himself. However, with this particular act, Congress did recognize that there may be circumstances where the president might need to be allowed to act faster because it can take them time to deliberate on things. In other words, there could be an incursion or an invasion, and they might not be able to deliberate quickly enough to declare war. I guess that's the thinking. It sounds kind of stupid to me, to be honest, but that's more or less the idea there. And so, technically speaking, he can sort of grab war powers, even without a declaration of war, under certain circumstances. However, the terminology that's used to refer to dangerous incursions is not really very well defined. And so what Donald Trump may very well be capable of doing is defining the massive immigrations as a dangerous incursion. I think that's the term that they used, dangerous incursion. And during one of his rallies, when he's talking about the immigration, the large numbers of people immigrating into the United States, he uses a lot of war terminology, which is done for obvious psychological purposes. For example, he actually says that cities have been conquered by the immigrants. Conquered. So he's already priming his supporters to begin to see the large amounts of immigration into this country as a war. Your cities have been conquered. You are being invaded. And this is because he wants to use the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which would allow him to put immigrants into internment camps without any due process. That's what that act does. It allows the president or the government to round people up and put them in prisons. There's an example of this, World War II, when the United States government put a ton of Japanese American citizens into internment camps. It is the Alien Enemies Act of 1798 that allowed them to do that. And that is what Donald Trump is referring to doing when he talks about his Operation Aurora. It is a mass deportation, very likely with putting people into prisons or internment camps. Strictly speaking, I guess I can't say that there's any verse in Norse poetry that addresses something like that directly, so I guess I can't necessarily say that it's specifically against our beliefs in a clear-cut way, but I still think it is. Mainly because it's evil. To imprison people who have committed no crime is evil. Now, I know people are going to say, well, they came here illegally. Give me a second. But the United States government is illegal. Morally speaking, the United States government doesn't really have a right to say who can legally come into this land. The United States government can be proven to be illegal simply because of the history with the treaties. The United States government had to make over 500 treaties with the Native American nations in order to have any rights to any of the land that it occupies. Without those treaties, the United States would have no territory. Therefore, with the way that treaties are supposed to work, by law, the United States government only has a right to any of its land if it meets its end of the agreements that were made with the Native American people. The United States has broken every single one of its treaties, which means that the rights to any land that are afforded to the United States by those treaties should be null, legally speaking, which means that it is illegal for the United States to possess any of the land that it possesses right now, which means that the United States government literally exists here in this territory illegally. And therefore, the United States government itself should have no rights legally to determine who is allowed to be here legally or not. The only people who really have a legal right to say whether or not those immigrants have a right to be here should be the Native American people. That is, of course, until the United States figures out a way to honor those treaties. And so this is where we bring in something from the Old Norse poetry that I can directly reference, which should inform how a Norse pagan views the actions of the US government and Trump. In Havamal stanza 127, Odin says, "Wherever you see any evil, speak out against it, and give your enemies no peace." Breaking treaties is evil. In fact, because a treaty is basically an oath, to break a treaty is to break an oath. Anybody who knows Norse paganism knows that to break an oath is a very, very serious offense within our religious beliefs and our culture. Punishable by death or exile. The entire U.S. government is an oath-breaking government. That's evil. And therefore, for the U.S. government to take any authority on who should be here legally or not is evil. And therefore, if we are following Odin's words in Havamal stanza 127, not only should we not be supporting the U.S. deporting people and deeming certain people to be illegal immigrants, but we should be speaking out against it from a Norse pagan perspective, based on an actual verse from Odin himself, from our actual texts. That is Havamal stanza 127. And based on this, we can reason that it would go against Norse pagan beliefs for somebody to support Donald Trump because he is encouraging deportation when he does not have the right to do so. It is wrongful and evil for him to take that authority. This video is already going on 29 minutes long, so I'm gonna end it here, and I might do a second video on this topic to continue this. We'll see. But in conclusion, my interpretation is that it would go against Norse pagan spiritual beliefs and Norse pagan values to support Donald Trump. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please check out my Etsy shop, which is going to be linked in the description. Please like and subscribe the video, or like the video and subscribe to me. And thank you so much. Have a good day.